$300,000 is enough to stop working. Let's just sit with that for a moment. I can hear the immediate guttural rejection, the sputtering, the scoffing, the eyes rolling so far back they threaten to detach, the sound of 1,000 keyboards clacking in unison to type out a comment about inflation, about healthcare, about rent in Zurich or San Francisco. That is absurd. That is poverty. That is impossible in this economy. That is not even a down payment in my city. Your reaction is immediate. It is predictable, and it is the entire reason you are trapped. Your skepticism is not a sign of your intelligence. It is a symptom of your programming. It is a firewall installed in your brain by a culture that requires your lifelong servitude. You have been so thoroughly conditioned by a system that requires your compliance that you cannot recognize the key to your own cage. Even when it is placed directly in your hand, you have been taught to worship large numbers. You have been trained to find your identity in your consumption. You dream of millions, 10 million, 50 million. You chase a number that is defined not by your needs, but by your envy. You are a hamster on a golden treadmill, complaining that you haven't yet earned the platinum treadmill. The statement, $300,000 is enough to stop working, is not a financial calculation. It is a philosophical diagnosis. It is a litmus test. If you reject it, you have failed the test. You have proven that you are not, and perhaps may never be, ready for freedom. The problem is not the number. The number is irrelevant. The problem is you. The problem is your catastrophic, systematic, and celebrated failure of imagination. You hear $300,000 and you immediately compare it to the bloated, diseased, and unsustainable lifestyle you've been told to desire. You think of the mortgage on the oversized house you don't use. You think of the 2-car payments for vehicles that sit in traffic. You think of the endless subscriptions, the restaurant meals, the delivery apps, the designer clothes, and the Instagram-worthy vacations that you take to escape the life you've built. You have constructed a prison of appetites, and you are now angry that $300,000 is not enough to maintain your high-class incarceration. You have mistaken the change for the reward. This is the great defining stupidity of the modern human. You are not striving for freedom. You are striving for better. Looking shackles, you are striving for the corner office, which is just a nicer cell. You are striving for the luxury car, which is just a faster prison. You are not poor. You are envious. Envy is the most idiotic of all sins. It is the only one you cannot possibly derive any pleasure from. It is a poison you drink, hoping the other person will die. You scroll through images of lives that are not real, purchased with debt you cannot see, to fuel a desire for things you do not need. This envy is not an accident. It is manufactured. It is the engine of the consumer economy. You are not supposed to be content. Contentment is the enemy of growth. A person who is content is a broken cog in the machine. A person who has enough is a threat to the entire system. So you are fed a constant diet of desire. You are trained from birth to look at what your neighbor has. This is called mimetic desire. You don't even know what you want. You simply want what other people want. It is a feedback loop of collective insanity. Your neighbor gets a new Audi. You feel a pang of failure. A colleague buys a bigger house. You feel you are falling behind. You haven't defined enough for yourself. So you have adopted the definition set by an algorithm designed to sell you insecurities. Enough is a foreign concept. The operating system of the modern mind is simply more. This is the first sickness, the sickness of comparison. You have outsourced yourself. Worth to the opinions of people you don't even like. You are living a life to impress the people in the next car at the traffic light. You are spending money you don't have to buy things you don't want, to impress people you don't know. This is a form of insanity, and it is celebrated as ambition. $300,000 is a mountain of money if your goal is freedom, but it is an insult if your goal is status, and this is the first truth you must swallow like a bitter pill. You cannot have both. You must choose. You can pursue freedom, or you can pursue status, but you cannot and will not achieve both on the salary you are earning. The system is designed to prevent it. The system requires you to convert every dollar of income into a dollar of consumption and debt. The person who buys the $80,000 luxury car is not wealthy. They are a consumer. They are a high spending cog. They are a servant to their car payment. They are less free than the person with $30,000 in the bank who takes the bus. But you do not see this. You see the shiny object. You are a magpie drawn to the reflection, unaware that it is a lure for a trap. The system wants you to reject the $300,000 premise. It needs you to believe that the only path is to work for 45 years, climbing a ladder in a job you tolerate to maybe retire at 67 with a few million. This is the safe path. This is the responsible path. It is also a profound waste of your one finite life. It is the guaranteed 100% certain loss of your youth, your vitality, and your time, traded for the possibility of a comfortable decay. $300,000 is the ultimate firewall. It is the protective barrier between you and a world that demands your compliance. It is the no fund. It is the FDITU money. It is the capital that allows you to look a stupid boss, a corrupt client, or an idiotic project in the face and say, I am out. You think you are free because you live in a free country. You think you are free because you can choose between 700 types of breakfast cereal. But if you cannot go 2 months without a paycheck before panic sets in, you are not free. You are on a leash. You are a well-fed dog who mistakes the length of his chain for freedom. If you must show up on Monday, if you must tolerate the meaningless meeting, if you must nod along to the corporate propaganda, if you must pretend to like people you despise, you are a slave with a 401k and dental insurance perhaps, a slave with a stock vesting schedule, a slave with unlimited vacation that you are culturally forbidden from taking, but a slave nonetheless. The person with $300,000 in a simple index fund is the freest person in the room. They can walk away. Can you? You cannot, because you have the $1.2 million mortgage, you have the lease payment, you have the children in the private school you can afford, you have engineered your own trap, and you spend your days polishing the bars. The $300,000 is not enough to sustain that life. Of course it is not. That life is a bottomless pit. That life is designed specifically to never be enough. It is a machine for consuming your soul. No, the $300,000 is the seed capital for an entirely different life. A life that is, by its very nature, an act of rebellion. This brings us to the second sickness, the addiction to comfort. You have confused freedom with convenience. You have confused quality of life with an absence of all friction. You believe you are winning because you can have food delivered to your door in 20 minutes, because you can binge. Watch 10 hours of content without moving, because your car has heated seats. You have become soft. You are terrified of being uncomfortable. You are terrified of being bored. You are terrified of effort. And this addiction to comfort is the second lock on your cage. The life that $300,000 unlocks is a life that requires you to reject this addiction. It is a life that may require you to cook your own food, to walk or take a bus, to live in a smaller apartment, to find entertainment in a library book or a conversation rather than $1.00 per month each bundle of streaming services. You hear this and you recoil. That is deprivation, you scream. That is not living. You have defined living as consuming. You have defined living as being perpetually comfortable. This is a pathetic definition of life. The human animal is not designed for perpetual comfort. We are designed to strive. We are designed to overcome. We are built to build. Comfort is the enemy of all of these things. Comfort makes you weak. It makes your mind dull. It makes your body decay. The person who is willing to be slightly uncomfortable is invincible. The person who is willing to live in a 700 square foot apartment instead of a 3000 square foot house. The person who is willing to make coffee at home instead of buying a $7 latte. The person who is willing to buy a used car with cash instead of leasing a new one. This person is a threat. They are breaking the rules. They are escaping. They are practicing the ancient, forbidden art of frugality. Not frugality as deprivation, not as self-punishment, but as strategy, frugality as a weapon of liberation. This is the art of separating the signal from the noise. The signal is your freedom. The signal is your time. The noise is everything else. The noise is the new car, the big house, the fancy meal. It is the status game. The $300,000 is the capital base for a life built on signal. But this requires a ruthless audit of your own desires. And this is work. This is hard work. It is harder than your 9 to -5 job. It requires you to sit in a quiet room and confront your own emptiness. It requires you to ask why you want the things you want. And the answer is almost always because someone else told me to. Let's dissect the third failure, the failure of imagination regarding work. You hear the phrase, stop working, and you immediately picture a permanent vacation. You picture sitting on a beach with a drink in your hand, hammocks, margaritas, indolence. This is the fantasy of the exhausted. It is the dream of the slave. You hate your work so much. It is so devoid of meaning, so divorced from your skills, so fundamentally boring, that the only alternative you can conceive of is total indolence. The only reason you desire to sit on a beach for 40 years is because your current work is a soul-crushing violation of your human potential. You are not working. You are laboring. You are being productive in ways that produce nothing of value. You are moving numbers in a spreadsheet. You are sitting in meetings that could have been emailed. You are contributing to the illusion of productivity. You are part of a corporate machine designed to extract value, not to create it. This is not work. This is obedience. The human mind is not built for permanent leisure. It is built for purpose. It is built for striving. It is built to solve problems. You would be bored out of your mind in 6 weeks. You would become depressed, anxious, and weak. Look at the people who do retire early with millions, who have no purpose. They are miserable. They are the walking dead. They decay. They invent new anxieties. They become hypochondriacs. Their minds turn inward and begin to rot. Stop working does not mean stop contributing. It means stop working at things you hate. It means stop working for people you don't respect. It means stop working on a schedule that is not your own. It means reclaiming your time. Time is the only non-renewable asset. You trade it away every single day for paper money. You trade the certainty of your fleeting time for the possibility of a secure old age. An old age you may never even reach. It is a fool. S-bargain. The $300,000 is not a retirement fund. It is a runway. It is a liberation fund. It is the capital that buys you the most valuable thing in the universe, uninterrupted time. Do you have any idea what a thinking human being can accomplish with uninterrupted time? A dedicated person can become a master of a new skill. They can write a dozen books. They can build a business from scratch. They can learn 3 languages. They can build a body, a mind, and a community. The $300,000 is the key that unlocks real work. The work you were meant to do. The work that you would do for free because it is you. The work that is an expression of your curiosity, your skill, and your soul. This is the true definition of wealth. Wealth is not a number in a bank account. Wealth is not a collection of objects. Wealth is discretionary time. Wealth is the ability to wake up in the morning and say, what problem do I want to solve today? You are not wealthy. You are a high-income cog. You wake up and are told what problems to solve, and they are almost always stupid, meaningless problems. Now we come to the part where your programmed brain tries to fight back with logic. This is the part where you throw out the buzzwords you've learned. Inflation, healthcare, market crash. What about kids? You use these words as incantations, as magic spells to ward off the terrifying idea of freedom. You use them as excuses to stay in your comfortable prison. Let's do the simple, brutal math. The math that your consumer-addled status-obsessed brain refuses to compute. The average American household trapped in the lifestyle of more spends over $70,000 a year. They are drowning. They are running faster and faster just to stay in the same place. But what if you were not the average American? What if you were an intelligent, focused, sovereign human? What if you designed a life that cost you $3,000 a month, a simple apartment, food you cook yourself, a library card, a bicycle, a life of thinking and doing and reading, not consuming and scrolling, a $36,000 a year life, or even a $30,000 a year life? Is this possible? Yes. Millions of people do it. They just don't T-post about it on Instagram. It is not poverty. It is simplicity. It is focus. It is a life where the signal has been separated from the noise. Let's take your $300,000. It is not cash under a mattress. A fool would do that. It is capital. It is invested in a simple, total market index fund. It is a tiny slice of human productivity. Let's use the 4% rule, the sacred text of the retirement community. The rule says you can safely withdraw 4% of your invested principal each year, adjusted for inflation, and have a very high probability of the money lasting forever. 4% of $300,000 is $12,000 a year. And here, again, the programming kicks in, the screaming starts, $12,000. That is nothing. I can't live on that. That is below the poverty line. Who told you that you had to? This is the second part of the strategy, the part your linear, fearful mind cannot grasp. This $12,000 is not your income. It is your floor. It is your survival. It is your safety net. It is the base layer of your pyramid. This $12,000 is the absence of desperation. It is the money that pays for your modest rent in a low cost of living area. It is the money that pays for your rice, your beans, your eggs, your egg meal. It is the money that pays your oatmeal. It is the money that pays for your internet connection. It is the $1,000 per month that liberates you to use your time, all 168 hours of your week, to build the second layer. This is the barbell strategy. On one side of the barbell, you have your $300,000. It is invested in safe, boring, low-yield, reliable assets. This is your protection. This is your never-go-to-zero fund. It is your anti-starvation machine. On the other side of the barbell, you are now free to take massive asymmetric risks, not with your money, but with your time. You are no longer desperate. And when you are not desperate, you make different decisions. When you are trapped in a 9 to -5, you are forced to trade your time for a paycheck you must earn. You cannot take a risk. You cannot work on something for 6 months that might not pay off. You have a mortgage to feed. Your children need new shoes. The car payment is due. You are a slave to the immediacy of your bills. But the person with the $300,000 firewall, the person with the $12,000 a year floor, they are in a completely different universe. They can work 10 hours a week at a coffee shop for pocket money and spend the other 60 hours building their real business. They can work for free for a mentor absorbing knowledge that will be worth millions later. They can write the novel. They can build the app. They can start the podcast. They can launch the consulting business. They can dedicate 1,000 hours to learning a skill, coding, marketing, welding, plumbing, designing. That will make them $500 an hour. They are immune to failure because failure just means they live on their $12,000 a year base, which they are already doing. They have de-risked their life. You, on the other hand, are terrified of failure because failure means foreclosure. It means humiliation. It means your entire identity, built on the house of cards of your job title, comes crashing down. Let's talk about your risks, inflation. Your $12,000 is adjusted for inflation. That is the point of the 4% rule, and more importantly, your skills are your best hedge against inflation. A person with 168 hours of free time can develop skills that outpace inflation. You, in your job, are just hoping your 3% annual raise keeps up. At 1T Healthcare, this is a legitimate problem, but it is a solvable one. You can move to a country with socialized healthcare. You can join a healthcare co-op. You can get a simple, high deductible plan because your $12,000 floor covers your basics, freeing up any new income to pay for it. You, on the other hand, are chained to your job by your health care. It is your most expensive shackle. You are terrified of a $10,000 medical bill, but you are not terrified of the 100% certainty of giving your entire adult life to a corporation. Your risk assessment is broken. Market crash, the 4% rule accounts for market crashes. It has been tested over every disastrous period in financial history. It survives. But more importantly, the person with the $12,000 floor is impervious to a market crash. Their time is their asset. A crash is a buying opportunity for them. For you, a crash means layoffs. A crash means your 401k is cut in half, and you have to keep working anyway. Your risk assessment is fatally flawed. You are straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel. You are terrified of the possibility of a market downturn. But you are not terrified of the certainty of your own physical and mental decay in a high-stress job you hate. The $300,000 is not enough in the way you think. It is not enough to buy the life you see on television. It is enough to buy the time to build a life that is yours. It is the seed. It is not the tree. You are obsessed with the fruit. You want to buy the fully grown tree. You want to buy the shade, the security, and the harvest. And so you spend your life as a slave to earn the millions required to buy the tree. The wise person understands that $300,000 is enough to buy the seed in the land, and the time to plant it. It is the difference between being a consumer and being a creator. This brings us to the final and most difficult barrier, the social barrier, the identity barrier. The entire modern economy is designed to turn you into a consumer, a passive, predictable, docile unit of consumption. It wants you indebted, it wants you anxious, it wants you envious. An anxious, indebted, envious person is the perfect employee and the perfect customer. They are easy to control. They buy things they don't need, and they work jobs they hate to keep the cycle going. The $300,000 is a declaration of war on that system. It is a statement that you are opting out. You are refusing to play the game. You are flipping the board over. And this is what truly scares people. This is the root of the rejection. It is not the math, it is the psychology. If $300,000 is enough, It means all the other people, the ones grinding away for their millions, are wrong. It means their 40-year sacrifice in the cubicle was a waste. It means the safe path was, in fact, the riskiest path of all. The path that risked the certain loss of their one and only life. It means their identity is a sham. This is an uncomfortable truth. It is a social heresy. And people will attack you for it. Your family will call you crazy. Your friends will call you a loser. Your colleagues will call you lazy. They will say, you are not ambitious. This is the greatest gaslight of all. As if ambition must be defined as the desire to accumulate more paper than the next person. As if ambition is climbing a ladder someone else built. As if ambition is winning a game you didn't design. What about the ambition to own your own mind? The ambition to read 100 great books a year? The ambition to raise your own children instead of outsourcing their upbringing to strangers? The ambition to be physically and mentally healthy? The ambition to build something meaningful, even if it does make you rich in the conventional sense? This is the real ambition, and it is the ambition that $300,000 unlocks. But this attack from the outside world is nothing compared to the attack from within. The $300,000 forces you to confront the most terrifying question. Who are you without your job? Your job is your identity. When someone asks, what do? You don't, say, I am a father. I am a curious person. You say, I am a senior vice president. I am a marketing manager. I am a lawyer. These titles are your identity. They are your armor in the social world. They signal your status. They tell people where you belong in the hierarchy. The $300,000 strips this away. If you are not your job, who are you? Most people will do anything to avoid answering this question. They will work a job they despise for 40 years, just so they never have to be alone in a quiet room with their own thoughts. They will fill every second with busyness to avoid the terrifying void of their own unexamined identity. This is the real work. The financial part is easy. Saving $300,000 is a simple problem of arithmetic. You spend less than you earn. It is a mechanical process. The real challenge is building a self that is strong enough to use that freedom. A self that is not defined by consumption, status, or the approval of others. The $300,000 is not a financial number. It is a spiritual one. It is the precise amount of capital required to tell the world, I am no longer for sale. But you will hear all of this, and you will find reasons to reject it. You will go back to your spreadsheets. You will calculate inflation to 3 decimal points. You will post on forums about how $12,000 is not enough. You will do everything except the one thing that is required. You will not audit your life. You will not sit down in a quiet room with a piece of paper and look at your bank statement. You will not ask the brutal questions. What percentage of this spending is me and what percentage is programming? What is this subscription for? Why do I have this car? Why am I eating this food? Why do I live in this house, in this city? Why am I friends with these people? Why am I me? You are afraid of the answers, because the answers will reveal the truth. You have built your own prison, and you are the warden, the prisoner, and the financier all in one. It is so much easier to declare that the number is impossible than to admit that you are the problem. It is easier to say $300,000 is not enough than to say I am not disciplined enough. It is easier than saying I am not creative enough. It is easier than saying I am too addicted to comfort. It is easier than saying I am too terrified of what my neighbors think. It is easier than saying I am too terrified to find out who I am. So you will continue to chase. You will chase the $1.0_000 mark. And when you get there, if you ever do, you will find that it is not enough, because you will be the same person. You will have more money, but you will not have more freedom. You will just be a more affluent slave. You will be the person who buys a bigger house, a faster car. Your cost of living will rise to meet your new income, and the chain will be just as short. Nothing will have changed because you will not have changed. The $300,000 is a mirror. It doesn't ask you what you can buy. It asks you who you are. It forces you to define enough. It forces you to choose between status and freedom. It forces you to decide if you are a builder or a consumer. The truth is, $300,000 is more than enough to stop working. It is just not enough for you because you have not yet decided to be free. You are still waiting for permission. You are still waiting for a number so large that you don't have to change your habits, your appetites, or your identity. You are waiting for a fantasy, a lottery ticket, a savior. You are waiting for anything except the one thing that will actually work, the decision to change your own mind. The path is simple, but it is not easy. It demands you see the world not as it is marketed to you, but as it is. It demands you trade the sugar, high drug of more for the bone, deep clarity of enough. This clarity is the most painful and most valuable asset you will ever acquire. The $300,000 is just the tool that helps you buy it. And this is where the real work begins, the work of auditing your own mind. That audit starts with the simple questions. What is your enough number? What prison have you built for yourself? Let me know your answer in the comments below. I want to see if you are truly thinking or just repeating the programming you've been fed. If this line of reasoning, this uncomfortable truth, provided a single spark of clarity in the fog of your daily obligations, then you have a duty to share it. Pass this logic on. Use the like and share buttons not as a metric of vanity, but as a weapon against collective stupidity. The conversation does not end here. The Socratic method demands continuous engagement. Continue your journey with the analysis that is now appearing on your screen.